Welcome to Prep My Art and Prep My Art Academy. We are so happy to have you viewing today. We are with an outstanding guest. We are with Ronn Yedidia. He was born in Israel. He's a well-known pianist and he was a child prodigy. At 15, he became a composer. Later, Ronn came from Israel to the United States and began to study at Juilliard in New York City. He earned all three of his degrees there, his bachelor's, master's, and doctorates in composition. His compositions have been performed and commissioned internationally. The labels that have also publicized him is EMI Classics, Sony, BMG, Naxos, and many others. His compositions have also been internationally published by the Muse Press of Japan. Ronn has established many musical enterprises in New York, such as the 21st Century Music and On. He is the co-founder and director of the New York Piano Academy. For things that are non-classical related, he had put together the jazz fusion ensemble called Prophets. For his ethnic world music ensemble, he's done Danza Nova, and he is the accordion player for that. Ronn has a wealth of information. He has decades of outstanding awards and experiences. So this is such a thrill to hear from him today. Ronn, thank you so much for coming on to Prep My Art.
Thank you for hosting me. Very happy to be here, Sarah.
Yes, of course. It's great that we were able to have this connection, and you're a great friend. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
The pleasure is mutual.
So, Ronn, something I would like to talk a little bit about is you're the co-founder and director of the Piano Academy in New York, which is huge. The students there have won hundreds of prizes. You have a wealth of information. It was even told to me that you are arguably one of the best teachers in the country from a friend, a mutual friend of ours who just thinks the world of you. So, Ronn, let's inform our audience, a lot of middle schoolers, high schoolers, and their parents, just on growing up in the world of piano and in New York City and the different things that you really have on your heart you'd like to share today.
Of course, yeah. I mean, New York City obviously is a very central place, and it's the place where some of the greatest legends of all time operated. They lived here, they created here, they performed here. So the legacy is immense. The Juilliard School is perhaps the most famous of all the educational institutions for music that have been established on the East Coast, and arguably even the most known one in the entire United States, internationally known, and some of the greatest artists, both performers, composers, and others, because the school also does dance and does acting, have gathered together there and established a huge institution. It's a tremendous pool of talent and legacy. So, making an institution in New York City is basically flying on the wings of things that we've seen here in the past, which originally came from Europe much of the time, because many of the legends that ended up in New York City were great artists who grew and flourished in Europe, a lot of them in Eastern Europe, and many of the teachers, the pedagogues at Juilliard, were people from Eastern Europe, very well known, Joseph Levine and his wife Rosina Levine, who established the school. So to establish a piano, mainly classical piano, even though we do jazz, institution in New York City is not alien at all to the place. It's not something new. For me particularly, I was raised in Israel, and I was taught by the first lady of the piano there, Pnina Zaltzman, who was a prodigy of Alfred Cortot, who was arguably the most important authority on piano music in Europe in the first part of the 20th century. So I have absorbed that legacy through Pnina, with whom I studied for years. She mentored me, and we stayed friends. And I am trying to continue the tradition that was given to me through her and people of her kind, as well as those in New York at the time when I came to New York, who were immersed in the tradition. Because it was mixed. There were people who came from the older tradition, and there were people who were more modernist, like especially in the composition department in Juilliard. The people who were teaching, and creating the time were from the avant-garde. They were modernists. So you got excuse me, you got everything of everything mixed in that bag. Yeah, that is the tradition that I have absorbed, and that I'm trying to bequeath to the next generations.
Wow, that's incredible. So you went ahead and you founded the New York Piano Academy, and you were telling me that you have multiple recitals there. Sorry, let's go back to it. You
Yeah.
guys, special guests. What are thoughts and ideas that you have for students who are in middle school and high school? Some of them may be considering going to New York. Some of them may be considering Juilliard. Some of their parents might want them to go there. What are your thoughts? What could you share with them that might be something that they wouldn't typically know?
I really think it depends on every person and what their inclinations are, what is the level of their talent, what do they want to really invest in their own life and in this particular making, and where are they, at which stage are they. I think that the most important thing is the private teachers, first of all. I mean, it depends on who is your private teacher, and how well can you follow that teacher and verse yourself in everything that it takes to become a more informed student and musician, and a better player. If you're a pianist or a violinist or whatever that is, and if you're a composer, then it depends on who's showing you the way doing that. So just make sure that you study with the most devoted people where you are at, and that you can take everything you can take from them to improve and to complete your craft before you move on to the next stages. And then try yourself out in some auditions, and there are plenty of those available, and see the critiques that you get from the jurors. Play concerts, play a lot of live concerts, because I think there's no better experience than being on stage or in front of people and running through your program, and learn a lot from that. And don't get discouraged if things don't go well, or as well as you believe they should go. It's an ongoing process, and you can always and should learn from it and get better and better as you go. As far as the strategy of going out from certain parts of the world or the country and coming to a place as endowed as Juilliard, or Juilliard is not the only place. There are other fantastic schools around, like Mannes, the New School, Manhattan School of Music, and other wonderful departments. And they all need students, and students need them, because there's so much space in a place like Juilliard or Manhattan School of Music or Mannes that only certain people are going to make it. But there's so many other options and opportunities, and I've seen it everywhere. Many of my students have gone to those other institutions. So if this is your passion, And if this is something you want to grow with and make an integral part of your life, whether it is to become a professional or a semi-professional, or even if it is a dear hobby for you that you want to keep doing and perfecting, all that needs the right fit,
Right.
right? So and the possibilities are vast. You just need to be informed. You need to keep doing what you're doing and get as wide as possible a perspective on what's going on in the center, and get to know a few people. Send your recordings, your videos around. Uh, get examined. Go into auditions. Get to know people. Come to New York if you want something. Play at one of the venues. That's always beneficial. It's wonderful, and hope to continue flying forward.
Yeah. So what advice do you have to parents? Some parents, they might just not really know what's out there or think, oh, we're never going to make it to New York and you're dreaming. Or, sometimes some parents, they don't understand that it's really not, New York's just an airplane away, right? An airplane ride away. Just depends where you go. The investments that you can have and make into your children, the experiences you can give them are actually priceless, because you're giving them something that they're experiencing with you in safety that is then going to be carried on to them as adults. There's always ways to figure out coming to New York and going to a show, right? There's always ways to do that, but the most important thing is to stimulate their palate for it. I'll tell you one thing. There's this one family member I have. I won't say who, but I have a family member. Excuse me. My whole life would say, "Dara, if you want it, you have to live, eat, sleep, breathe, drink piano." Looked at this family member and I said, I don't want to do that. Like a blade. Can I practice and I can go play? I don't, that doesn't sound good. But then as I grew up, and especially in college, and you have to go see performances, and not just piano, you had to see dance, you had to see theater. Then you go to different venues in your downtown area. You learn about art, you learn about culture, you learn there's so much more to life, right? So with that, I had this conversation and I told this family member, listen, if I would have known ahead of time and had those experiences, it would have made the desire to live, eat, sleep, breathe, drink, piano so much more interesting and desirable, because of a purpose for that, not just my time, play, make family happy and be done,
You're absolutely right. And being in a place like New York really gives you the chance to do that, because it's not wide, it's actually a very dense place, and it has almost everything, if not everything you can seek, in the arts or related to the arts or in any medium of expression, and it's right at your hand. Of course, it's a question of a lifestyle. I mean, it's it's much easier for someone who's born in New York or lives closer to New York, right? If you're in New Jersey or Connecticut, to come close to it by a ride of a half an hour from somewhere, or 1 hour, and here you are, right in the middle. And it's not just New York. The entire East Coast. I mean, you have cultural centers in the places outside of New York, not far from New York. If you go to the Boston area, right, Massachusetts, I mean, it's endowed with educational institutions and orchestras and great venues for people to go. Or the Philadelphia has the Philadelphia Orchestra. You have some amazing institutions that you can absorb yourself in the arts just tasting them, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, the decision, I mean, if you're talking about coming from an area which is more rural, that has a lot less institutionalized, organized arts or music, then definitely having a visit, if you can afford a visit to the area of New York, right? Or even to the area of Boston, or other places that have um, major institutions of music and great cultural activity around it, please do that, because it'll give you plenty that you can't get in other places.
Yeah, absolutely. So with encouraging parents, what is something you wish that parents would know? With you being in New York and with Juilliard, and you're in everything elite, you know? But I know there's moments where you probably sat back and thought, oh, if only some of these other families would have known what is accessible to them, or just even the process. I've talked a little bit with other people about auditions and
Right.
like that there's all these international competitions.
Well, there's something called the pre-colleges, right? So you have the situation of the pre-college at Juilliard or Manhattan School of Music, or Manes, that are wonderful, and a lot of talented children and teenagers frequent them, right? And participate in the programs, usually in the weekends. So if you want to come and talk to some of these people, or get to know a teacher who teaches at the prep divisions of those places, I mean, this can be enlightening. Or you can come and talk to me because you have an institution. What we do in my institution, it's basically in a community. It's not degree-based sort of place. It's a place where everybody who seeks music and has a passion for that can come and study it, and we will find the right teacher for them. And fortunately, we also have phenomenal students, who prefer to be with us and not at the prep divisions of other schools, because they believe in our teachers. So I mean, I would be happy to talk to anybody about my philosophy there and how do we differ actually from the others, because we have our own specific one, which I believe is beautiful and healthy and proven, right?
Yeah.
So, and there are other good schools around. There's some very good community schools in New York City that have wonderful, really highly accomplished educators in them. One of them is the Bloomingdale School of Music in the area where I have my academy, the Upper West Side, and I've known a few of their teachers, and they're wonderful musicians and excellent educators. And stepping in and having a little conversation with someone there could be very benefiting for anybody. So there's plenty of it everywhere. You just need to step in, knock on the door, try to get some information, and talk to some people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Ron, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a great pleasure, and I'm really hoping that a lot of people will follow your steps and your kindness and vision in presenting all this, and that we can benefit them in making further steps in their development, musical development.
Yeah, because that's all it is, it's just us moving forward, and that's why we have Prep My Art. So
That's right.
prepare students, and I think what you're doing in New York is incredible. I love hearing about your academy.
It's if when I stress the right name, it's called the New York Piano Academy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you guys are interested in learning more or connecting with Ron, you can just go online to, what was the website again?
It's nypianoacademy.com.
There you go.
nypianoacademy.com. And yeah, you can write to me. There is a phone number you can call. The phone, that's phone, and I'm always happy to hear from people, and I always also meet them. If somebody wants to meet and sit and talk, there's I'm always happy to talk to people who have an interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for viewing Prep My Yard. And again, Ron, thank you so much. And we will.
And thank you for hosting me.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.